So hey y'all, I'm back with another video. So tonight's video is yet again another Chioma Chats video podcast edition. So by the title, we're going to be talking about Chris Brown and him recently being in the blogs after him and former Cheetah Girl and 3LW band member Keely Williams had a little back and forth. Chris Brown is basically an R&B legend. He got his claim to fame at the mere age of 16 and was a teenage heartthrob to so many young women. His talent in singing, dancing, acting, and honestly being an attractive young face during the beginning of his career solidified him as a mainstream artist with a long-term career. Chris Brown is embellished with talent. However, his personal actions have been controversial throughout the years, especially dealing with women. As we all know, back in 2009, Chris Brown and Rihanna were the hottest young couple, and they were the two hottest budding stars in that era. When I look back to it now, clearly they were the beginning of celebrity couples as we know them now, especially for urban pop culture. They were a staple in utilizing the clout of two budding artists and allowing their love interests to create more attention for both of them. Unfortunately, Chris Brown assaulted Rihanna inside his Lamborghini the night prior to the 2009 Grammys. She was left with a busted lip, a black eye, and bruises on her face, and pictures of this spread like wildfire all over the world. I'm definitely not going to put the pictures in this video, but I'm pretty sure we will never forget what that looked like. This incident alone may have canceled Chris Brown in today's times, but back then, it was still a slap on his reputation that got him into a lot of scrutiny and a lot of legal trouble. The truth about Chris Brown is that he's not a one-time offender. He has continuously shown his disrespect and disregard for women, and that's really all women. I know we do like to speak about how he is presumably, and in some cases it's proven that he is biased or against black women, but I think he has an overall lack of respect for women, period. I did want to give context as to why I'm questioning whether or not Chris Brown deserves grace. So according to TMZ, the headline says, Chris Brown and Keely Williams, how are you dissing me when you can't even talk right? Chris Brown is singling out the Cheetah Girl / 3LW singer Keely Williams amongst the peanut gallery, upset he's collaborating with Chloe Bailey, but Breezy is busting her chops, almost literally. Following Chloe's ill-fated preview of How Does It Feel, Keely went on a tirade over the collab, like several fans, accusing Chris Brown of exploiting female black artists' talent to mask his past domestic violence case with Rihanna. So Keely says, let him come out with his own record, so genius, so captivating that it makes all of us forget he beats women. He can't, so he won't. So what does he do? He slowly creeps back into the mainstream by getting small nods for features on black women's merit. Black women who are more talented, more worthy, but give him the okay. I'm swatting the effing air right now. Garbage. I've only seen a more positive progress within the last 2 to 3 years, but there was a period of time where he was a menace. There was a period of time where he was going through his wild boy phase, his gang affiliation phase, his women are disposable phase, his toxic relationship phase, and a lot of his actions left a bad taste in people's mouth and a stinky aura surrounding Chris Brown. He should have hit me up because I have just the product for him. So today's video sponsors from the company Drift. Drift is a solution to better air care with products that balance seamlessly with your everyday life that are simple but effective. Now, as y'all know, I've been pushing a lot of content out because I've moved into a new apartment. So finally moved out of my parents' house after like 2 years, and it has been so good to just have my own space. So here are just a few glimpses of my apartment. I'm still in the very early process of getting everything together, and this is the first time I'm doing it all by myself, but it's coming along. And if you live in an apartment, sometimes it is a little bit tricky keeping the air fresh and sanitized and smelling good since you are in a shared space. So Drift has what I would like to call a new air freshener technology with these magnetic air freshener products that are easy, clean, and simple. So I wanted to share with y'all this cool new product that I found in the fragrance category. And I also do work with Scentbird, and Drift is actually Scentbird's new sister company. And y'all know how much I love Scentbird and everything that they do. Honestly, I've become a fragrance person just from working with them, so everything has to smell good around me. Drift creates air care products for your car and your home, and in my new apartment, I definitely needed it. So all of their materials are sustainable, and their scents are made with natural essential oils. Their car products include stone fresheners, wood fresheners, and a metal one. And then for the home, they have candles, reeds, home sprays. Drift really is like a one-stop shop to make your home smell like heaven's gates. So I received the scent of the month. This is a wood air freshener, and these are made right here in the USA. So it's called Apres or Apres. So I would definitely say it smells powerful. It's sort of like an outdoor smell, but it's like fresh and powerful and pine smell. Like, it's actually very relaxing. I truly do like it, and I'm actually glad they sent this to me because I don't think I would normally grab this, but I definitely do like this scent now. So I want another one for sure. The good thing is that they do have a subscription and scent of the month. So what's cool about this is that you can get them as a subscription. So first you receive a starter kit with the clip in the scent, and then you just get monthly refills, as they do recommend changing it every 30 days. The best part is their scent of the month, which features a new limited edition scent, which is what I got. So next month I'll probably get something different. So as some of y'all know, when you're scenting an environment, nose blindness becomes a real thing. So the scent of the month also gives you some variety with something new for your nose every month. And your subscription is flexible. You can change your scent choice, you can change the delivery frequency, or you can cancel your subscription at any time. So thank you to Drift for this. I most definitely will be using this. I needed something in my bathroom, especially to always have it smelling good. Make sure you use my coupon code Chioma55 to get 55% off at your first month at drift.co. All of the links will be down below. Make sure y'all check them out. Thank you to Drift again, and let's get right back into this video. Breezy's currently overseas on tour, but took time to respond to Keely's disses and did so with a mix of pity and humor, to him anyway. So he says, obviously you were at a point in your life where either you are very broke or broken. The fact you think you have to speak negatively about me makes you look so lame. Your life and career must suck right now. Minding your business would have been best, but I guess you don't have a business or a real job that makes you financially stable. I feel more embarrassed for you and your actual maturity. He captions that on his Instagram story by saying, I'm getting kind of tired of broken promises. Y'all know I have a lisp in real life, so that wasn't really that hard for me to say. He then posted another meme of Keely that says, "Stop it." The article continues and says he deemed Keely to be broken, either mentally, financially, or both, for the unprovoked attack, and then took the low road by taking aim at her lisp. He joked how she sang promises on her hit song No More, Baby I'ma Do Right, and again threw a meme captioned, "Stop it." While Breezy didn't hesitate to fire away at Keely, Chloe still has to deal with her angered fan base ahead of the release of their song. How Does It Feel is scheduled to drop February 24th, which may bring further unwarranted attention to Chloe and Chris. So the song dropped yesterday. It already has over 1 million views on YouTube, and it's trending on YouTube Music as well. I thought the song was actually pretty good. I think for the two R&B talents, it was a vibe, and let's be real, Chris Brown really is an R&B incredible. I told y'all I'm trying to get into R&B more and more, so I really did look at it, and Chloe looked beautiful. I know she's a product of Beyonce's influence, but Chloe also reminds me of K. Michelle in regards to how powerful she sings, just an unpopular opinion. So I think that what Keely is saying is something to bring up. I guess right message, wrong messenger. However, regardless, what she is saying does hold a little weight, because at the end of the day, Chris Brown does have a very rugged reputation in regards to women, and especially black women. And people could argue that ever since being called out for his colorist actions, he has been doing little tidbits to tweak the narrative that he isn't colorist and doesn't like black women. Even him collaborating with Wizkid on the song Call Me Every Day and tapping into the Afrobeats wave. Let's be real. It's business, but it's definitely intentional. Now, I do also consider Chris's pushback, because I believe that Chris Brown has been unproblematic only in recent times, like the last 1 to 2, maybe 3 years. He doesn't trend for drama. You don't hear his name in negativity as much. He's not really in the tabloids about anything bad at the moment, which could be a measurement of growth and repentance for the man that we've known him to be. But it really does come down to whether or not Chris Brown deserves grace. So I thought this was interesting to discuss due to the complexity of everyone's actions. So I've broken this video down into one overall main talking point. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. So my overall main talking point is, does Chris Brown deserve grace? So I'm going to be real. I read his frustrations, and I did comment on the blogs basically agreeing with part of his frustration. It is annoying that someone's going to use a situation from when you were a teenager to pinpoint how bad of a person you are over a mistake that you made at this point close to 15 years ago. I mean, let's be real. If millions of people bring up a heinous decision you made when you were young and dumb, it will push you to snap because of the length of time that has gone by between now and then, and if you truly have turned over a new leaf in comparison to your former actions and reputation. So like I said, Chris Brown has shown a lot of public examples of the type of character that he has, and especially towards women. I believe that he is in a phase in which he doesn't want to be remembered for a lot of the foul things that he has done and said. And I think a lot of celebrities that we grew up with are getting to a point in their careers and in their lives where they are cross-checking their actions and trying to stay out of the negative spotlight as much as possible. Chris Brown is currently on tour overseas, and essentially he goes where he is celebrated. The American market holds him accountable, and I think the international market just loves the music. They may not be as emotionally invested into Chris Brown as his American fans, and I think it was bound to happen that he would get frustrated about people always bringing up his past aggressions. Now, in 2017, Chris Brown did drop a documentary titled Welcome to My Life, and it was just his story and a lot of behind-the-scenes interviews and insight from other people in the industry describing his come-up, his controversies, and his overall career. And in that documentary, he definitely spoke about the night him and Rihanna got into it. Within this current controversy with Keely Williams, he took to his Instagram to state his frustrations. He said, "If y'all still hate me for a mistake I made as a 17-year-old, please kiss my whole entire butt. I'm effing 33. I'm so tired of y'all running with this narrative. You weird people are the same ones that tune in every week to see Blueface and Krishan beat the F out of each other in front of the world. But that's okay. That's entertainment. Y'all can kiss my booty." Disrespectfully. Where are the cancel culture with these white artists that date underage women, beat the F out of their wives, give women AIDS? Oh, that's right. They are your buddies. No more fake love for me. Stay out my way or get ran over. Simple as that. None of you, and I mean none of you ninjas, can F with me. So back to me, holding that thought, like I said, I did make a comment on Instagram because I do understand his frustration. So I said, I'm not gonna lie. I agree and understand with his frustration. Now that we know more of the story, Rihanna was also beating on him that night, but people don't recognize that. She beat him with her high heel while he was driving. I think he owned up to his mistake back then. It happened when he was 17. He's about to be 34. That is gonna be half his life ago. We definitely excuse a lot more BS in today's times. If anything, I am more mad at Chris Brown for being a colorist, but let's be real about this. I don't think he should be crucified for a mistake that he made as a teenager. I'm not defending his actions of being a woman beater, but just saying that it is excessive to hold it against him 17 years later. I'm sure I'll be dragged for saying this, but it is what it is. Now, back to me. The reason why I made this comment is because I don't think Chris Brown should be crucified for a mistake that he made as a teenager. In 2009, he should have been 19, but he says he was 17. Nonetheless, he was a teenager. And after watching the documentary, I think that although I can never defend his actions of putting his hands on a woman, if both parties were putting their hands on one another, they're both wrong. The same way I call out Krishan and Blueface to this day. And I think they both acknowledged that, hence why they were able to reconcile at some point. And I think Chris Brown and Rihanna are decent and cordial with one another. I also stated I'm actually more upset, and not necessarily more, but just as upset that he is an avid colorist, because I think for obvious reasons, it's offensive to have a distaste or dislike of the demographic that is your number one supporters. But maybe black women aren't his number one supporters as much as we used to be back in the day, especially because he's always overseas performing. But still, it's black women that got Chris Brown to where he is today. And I think that in so many ways, Chris Brown is the epitome of an egotistical, self-hating black man. And honestly, I think the internet made him realize that. I think that's why he doesn't talk as much. However, if we're speaking about issuing him grace, I can only give him some grace for the one mistake that he made with Rihanna. And I'm only partially giving him that grace because of how old he was at the time, and the fact that I watched the documentary and heard his side of the story, the fact that Rihanna most definitely put her hands on him, and the fact that Rihanna has also forgiven him. I still don't think it makes it right, but if we're talking about issuing grace, I can see why he wants people to let it go and why he's frustrated. However, Chris Brown is a repeat offender. So the long story short is, Chris, love your music, but you as an individual, trash. Let's be real. Because it's not just one victim here. After he came out with all of this photo started resurfacing of him getting into it with his ex-girlfriend, Karrueche. And we all know that their relationship was also tumultuous and toxic. Chris Brown and Rihanna was one thing, but Chris Brown and Karrueche was, if you ask me, even worse. There may have not been as many public physical altercations that we know of, but once Karrueche did that Ayanla Fix My Life episode, it's clear as day that he has an actual problem. From the stalking to the protection orders to the love bombing, he publicly berated Karrueche in ways that shouldn't have been excused. But where I can also credit Chris Brown's argument is when he talked about Blueface and Krishan. Blueface and Krishan's relationship is plastered all over social media as the modern day Ike and Tina Turner. It's on the blogs, it's in our faces, and it's being monetized, and somehow that's entertainment for a lot of people in this generation. But what Chris Brown did with his relationships leads him to have higher crucifixion by the public. So I think his point is, if we're gonna call it out, let's stand on it in all corners. But Chris, let's be real. It just doesn't work that way. The internet will always pick and choose, and I think what Chris Brown should realize is that it's not just the fact that you were abusive towards Rihanna. A lot of people actually did get over that, but you kept going with your next relationship. It's the constant disrespect of women in many other categories, the physical disrespect, the verbal disrespect, the behavioral disrespect, and most importantly, the disrespect of demographics of women who have given you unconditional support since the day that you blew up. It really baffles me that there are so many colorist black men in entertainment whose whole entire existence is supported by black women, but for some reason they just look at us like the bottom of a shoe. So I think Chris Brown fans, and maybe men like Chris Brown, they can give him grace. But I think for those of us who grew up with Chris Brown and are now old enough to really evaluate him as a grown man, it's hard to issue grace to somebody who took forever to get it together. He was between 22 and 25 years old when he was dating Karrueche, which I still feel like is very young. I still feel like as a 25-year-old myself, I just got my brain together in regards to dating, and I'm not perfect and I still make mistakes, but it started to make more sense to me at this age. So yes, he was young, but I feel like when you have a track record of things that are alarming and very questionable on your character, you can't just tell people to forget about it. I understand his frustration, but I think him essentially pleading for grace is honestly hasty and half-baked. I don't like a half-cooked approach to forgiveness. If Chris Brown wants to be forgiven for the things that he's done, as well as eradicate a lot of the narratives that have surrounded him, I think he has to go a little bit harder than that. that. What Keely Williams is saying is actually kind of facts, but his response to her was also showing why people have an issue with him. I'm not saying that he had to take the high road because that was an unprovoked attack from Keely, but I feel like Chris Brown could easily make better statements so that people can subjectively see for themselves whether or not he is deserving of grace. I still feel like a lot of people want Chris Brown to win because, again, I think he's legendary in R&B. I think his career has produced some of the best songs in music in recent times, but Chris has really gotten a slap on the wrist for everything that he has done, and I think that's why people still hold him accountable. He's been able to avoid a lot of jail time, penalties, and more simply because of who he is. When he first got into the legal ramifications with the Rihanna situation, he was on probation for 5 years and had to do 1 year of domestic violence counseling and 6 months of community service. And I'm sorry, but to me, that's not enough when recalling what Rihanna's face looked like after what he did to her. Karrueche has a permanent protection order against Chris Brown for a reason. And yes, we haven't heard much about Chris Brown in the last few years. I will give him credit for that. But I think all in all, there has been a pattern of atrocious behaviors physically, verbally, and behaviorally towards women at the hands of Chris Brown. And it's just hard to forget. I just pray that Chris Brown really does understand why people hold him accountable. And I think in the future, he should readdress a lot of this, especially being that he has daughters. And I pray that he isn't the man who we've seen him to be over the years anymore. So that is it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please let me know your commentary on my commentary down below. What do you think? What do you know? Let me know. Please make sure to check out our sponsor, Drift. All of the links will be down below. Again, use my code Chioma55 for 55% off of your first month at Drift. Lastly, don't forget to follow me on all of my social media networks, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.
34 B cup, 30 in a deep cut, 20 bad bitches QTM, yeah, we up. 16 tops and bottles, man, I went and got my teeth done. 10 minutes with him, now his 15 minutes is cut. Never ever make a nigga think that he up, cause you a queen and I'm a queen, now shout out to Latifah. Security in the back, with a racket like Serena. Ex-nigga crying, laugh at him like a hyena. Like, damn, what you saying, daddy? Yeah, I know I got a fatty. Pussy talking to him, talk my shit, yeah, I be getting catty. Play with me, I bet you won't. Fatty on his chest and now he calling me a stethoscope. Pink fit, look, I'm looking good, incredible. Cutting niggas off, I'm coming through like a semi-colon mansion in the motherland. December come, that's where we going. Body hot, my niggas frozen, niggas put my picture